welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a resume of the movie. Of course, this is continued from the last movie. This is part 2. The title of the movie is The Lovely Bones. Before starting to listen this movie, please subscribe my YouTube channel because this is very important for me to develop or increase my YouTube channel, of course. Now let's go. Please don't go anywhere. Stay with me until the end of this story. Okay, go on. Did you remember that? Did you remember her? Yes, right. This is Susie. My name was Susie Salmon. I was killed when I was 14 years old. The story continued in a deep emotional warping between two realms. Susie knew that though she would never return to this world with her beloved family again. Kisah berlanjut dalam balutan emosi yang mendalam di antara dua alam. Susie tahu dia tidak akan pernah bisa kembali ke dunia bersama keluarga yang dikasihinya. While the world, Susie's father was frustrated to keep trying to find his beloved daughter. The inner bond between father and child brought him a strong feeling that his sweet daughter was dead. Sementara itu, di dunia, ayah Susie yang sedang frustasi terus-menerus untuk bisa menemukan kembali putri kesayangannya. Ikatan batin antara ayah dan anak menggantarkannya kepada firasat kuat bahwa putrinya yang manis itu telah tiada. Even though her body was dead, Susie's soul was still living in extreme sorrow in the world called heaven. Meski raganya mati, tapi jiwa Susie masih hidup dalam kedukaan yang teramat dalam dunia yang disebut surga. From Howard, Susie also saw everything, how her family's condition. They began to become fragile, which were forced to give up her dead, even though her own body had not been found. Dari dunianya, Susie pun melihat semuanya, bagaimana keadaan keluarganya. Mereka mulai rapuh dan terpaksa mereka merelakan kematiannya. Meskipun mayatnya sendiri belum kunjung diketemukan. Susie also saw how sad and loyal Ray was waiting her at the gazebo. Only Ruth could comfort him, and she said that Susie was always there near them because she knew Susie where she was. Susie juga melihat bagaimana Ray yang sedih, yang selalu setia menunggunya di gazebo. Hanya Ruthlah yang bisa menghiburnya. Dia mengatakan bahwa Susie selalu dekat di antara mereka karena hanya Ruth yang tahu di mana sekarang Susie berada. Susie also stalked the dark life of the killer. She did not accept Mr. Harvey would return to life his days without the slightest regret. He grudged burning the white figure of Harvey. Susie pun juga mengintai kehidupan kelam sang pembunuh. Dia tidak terima dengan Mr. Harvey yang kembali menjalani hari-harinya tanpa rasa penyesalan. Dendam pun semakin membara kepada sosok Harvey. She also tried to give a message to her father that her spirit was always with him, even in a different world, because she knew how close she was to her father all this time. Susie juga berusaha memberi pesan kepada ayahnya bahwa arwahnya selalu bersama dengannya, walaupun di dunia yang berbeda. Karena itu, dia tahu betapa dekatnya dirinya dengan ayahnya selama ini. Susie also kept trying to give clues in the form of dozens of photo rolls, which she would actually print once a month. She tried to influence her father's mind. Susie juga berusaha memberikan petunjuk berupa puluhan roll foto yang sebenarnya akan dia cetak satu roll dalam sebulan sekali. Dia berusaha mempengaruhi pikiran ayahnya. When his father went to Susie's room, he saw a box of rolls of photos belonging to Susie. He began to print one by one of them to find out what's wrong with the death of his first daughter. Saat ayahnya ke kamar Susie, dia melihat ada sekotak roll foto milik Susie. Mulailah ia mencetak satu demi satu roll foto itu untuk mencari tahu ada apa gerangan dengan kematian putri pertamanya itu. But there were no meaningful clues. His father gave up hope. A few months later, there was still one last roll that had not been printed. Jack desperately tried to print it. Tapi tidak ada petunjuk yang berarti. Ayahnya putus asa. Selang beberapa bulan kemudian, masih ada satu roll terakhir yang belum tercetak. Dengan putus asa, Jack mencoba mencetaknya. When the last roll was printed, there was a photo of Mr. Harvey in his yard. Jack remembered when Susie took the photo. Jack began to suspect Mr. Harvey, the only neighbor who didn't offer his condolence. Ketika roll terakhir itu tercetak, ada sebuah foto Mr. Harvey di halaman rumahnya. Jack teringat saat Susie memfotonya. Jack mulai curiga pada Mr. Harvey, satu-satunya tetangga yang tidak mengucapkan bela sungkawa padanya. Jack began to observe his neighbor, Mr. Harvey, who hadn't communicated since her daddy died. Jack mulai mengamati tetangganya, Mr. Harvey, yang belum pernah berkomunikasi sejak putrinya meninggal. Until one day, Jack felt his daughter was asking him to pick a wilted flower. in the Mr. Harvey's yard. Then Jack picked it. He saw that a flower that he was picked after a long time turned fresh red. Jack believed that Mr. Harvey was the killer. Hingga suatu hari, Jack merasa putrinya menuntunnya untuk memetik bunga layu di halaman rumah Mr. Harvey. Jack memetiknya dan bunga yang ia petik pelan-pelan berubah menjadi merah segar. Jack percaya dan tahu bahwa Mr. Harvey lah si pembunuh putrinya. Jack immediately contacted the police, but unfortunately, the evidence was not strong enough. Lindsay promised to help his father to look for the strong evidence. Jack segera menghubungi polisi, tapi sayang bukti itu belum cukup kuat. Lindsay berjanji akan membantu ayahnya untuk mencari bukti tersebut. Because he also began to suspect Mr. Harvey as a murderer of her sister, starting when he was walking through the housing complex with his dog. Karena dia punya kecurigaan terhadap Mr. Harvey sebagai tersangka pembunuh pada kakaknya. Bermula ketika ia sedang berjalan menyusuri komplek perumahan bersama anjingnya. The dog barked as if he knew Susie present was being around the neighbor's house. Anjing tersebut menggonggong, seolah tahu bahwa keberadaan Susie ada di sekitar rumah tetangga tersebut. In her work, Susie met Holly, who also was one of the victims of Harvey's outrage. Holly tried to remind her that she was gone or she was dead. Di alamnya Susie bertemu dengan Holly, salah satu korban kebiadaban Harvey juga. Holly berusaha mengingatkan Susie bahwa ia telah tiada. In a word, that was Ray who was waiting for her in the gazebo. Susie was so sad because they were in a different world. Di alamnya pula ada Ray yang sedang menunggunya di gazebo. Susie begitu sedih karena mereka di dunia yang berbeda. Meanwhile, Lindsay started helping her father to find solid evidence by sneaking into Harvey's house. Sementara itu, Lindsay mulai membantu ayahnya untuk mencari bukti kuat dengan cara menyelinap ke rumah Harvey. Unexpectedly, what she and her father had been suspected was true. Mr. Harvey was Susie's killer. She found a strong evidence where there was a sketch of the bunker that has been prepared to trap Susie. Tak disangka apa yang selama ini ia dan ayahnya curigai ternyata benar adanya. Mr. Harvey lah si pembunuh Susie. Ia menemukan barang bukti yang kuat. Ada sketsa bunker yang ternyata telah dipersiapkan untuk menjebak Susie. Lindsay also found Susie's sketch and her hair in the book. Lindsay realized that Mr. Harvey had been eyeing her sister for a long time, and he succeeded. Oh my God. Lindsay juga menemukan sketsa dan rambut Susie di buku itu. Lindsay sadar bahwa Mr. Harvey telah lama mengincar kakaknya selama ini. Dan dia berhasil. Oh my God. Lindsay immediately ran out to give the evidence to his father. Mr. Harvey felt there was someone in the house. He found out Lindsay and chased her. Luckily, Lindsay got away from him. Lindsay segera lari keluar dan menyerahkan barang bukti itu ke ayahnya. Mr. Harvey merasa kehadiran seseorang di rumahnya. Ia melihat Lindsay dan mengejarnya. Untunglah Lindsay berhasil lolos. Knowing his current position was not safe, Mr. Harvey immediately escaped. He broke something that had to be destroyed. Susie knew that it was herself in the big box. She called the lovely bones. Mengetahui posisinya kini tidak aman, Mr. Harvey segera melarikan diri dengan membawa sesuatu yang harus dimusnahkan. Susie tahu yang ada di dalam kotak besar itu adalah dirinya, dan dia menyebutnya the lovely bones. Then Mr. Harvey threw the mysterious large box away in the dump site near Ruth's house. Kemudian Mr. Harvey membuang kotak besar misterius itu di tempat pembuangan di dekat rumah Ruth. From her house, Ruth watched what Mr. Harvey was doing. She seems to know what was in the box, and it made her feel sick. Dari rumahnya, Ruth mengamati apa yang sedang dilakukan oleh Mr. Harvey. Dia seolah-olah tahu apa yang ada di dalam kotak tersebut yang membuatnya merasa mual. In the word of Susie and his friend of Mrs. Harvey victim were ready to go to where was according them of heaven. They also rejoiced. Heaven. Di dunianya, Susie dan teman-temannya yang merupakan korban dari Mr. Harvey sudah siap untuk pergi ke surga menurut mereka. Mereka bersukaria. Heaven. Susie seemed hesitant. Then Holly persuaded her. Come on, Susie. We are free now. Forget about the world. We cannot go back then anymore. Susie refused it because there was something to be done. Susie nampak ragu. Holly lalu memujuknya. Ayolah Susie, kita bebas sekarang. Lupakanlah dunia. Kita tidak bisa kembali lagi ke sana. Susie menolaknya karena masih ada urusan di dunia yang harus diselesaikan. Meanwhile, from the window, Ruth saw that Susie's shadows appear from the dump site and approached her. Ruth was afraid, and she called Ray, who was nearby. Ray! And Susie's soul came into her body, and Ruth was unconscious. Sementara itu, dari jendela, Ruth melihat bayangan Susie muncul dari tempat pembuangan dan mendekatinya. Ruth takut. Dia memanggil Ray yang saat itu ada di dekatnya. Ray! Arwah Susie pun masuk dalam raganya. Ruth pun pingsan. Ray immediately ran to find Ruth, but Ruth was possessed by the soul of Susie. Ray was very happy. He knew Susie came to want to say goodbye to him, who should they have met at the gazebo at that time. Ray said, "I love you, Susie Selman. You are very beautiful." Ray segera lari menemukan Ruth, tapi Ruth telah dirasuki arwah Susie. Ray sangat bahagia. Ray tahu Susie datang untuk berpamitan dengannya, di mana mereka seharusnya sudah bertemu saat itu di gazebo. Ray pun berkata, "I love you, Susie Salmon. You are very beautiful." In a faraway escape, Mr. Harvey was seducing the next victims. The victims, a girl, was being a confused and cold time. He fell. The lady was angry and left him immediately. Di suatu tempat pelarian yang jauh, Mr. Harvey sedang beraksi merayu korban berikutnya. Korbannya adalah seorang gadis yang sedang bingung dan kedinginan. Tapi gadis itu marah dan segera pergi meninggalkannya. Harvey fell this time. Suddenly, snowflakes from the tree where Mr. Harvey was standing fell on him. Then he slipped, fell on in the near the ravine. Finally, he was dead in the cold, and his corpse was unknown, like his previous victims. Kali ini Mr. Harvey gagal. Tiba-tiba bunga salju dari atas pohon di mana dia berdiri menjatuhi pundaknya. Lalu dia tergelincir dekat jurang dan jatuh. Dia meninggal kedinginan dan mayatnya pun tidak diketahui keberadaannya seperti korban-korbannya sebelumnya. Now, Susie was free. Finally, she said, "My name was Susie Selman, and I wanted to go quietly." Well, this is the end of resume of movie part 2. The moral follow of this video, if you are a girl, please be careful if there is someone persuade you to do something. Be careful, the girl. Okay, well, this is a video.